I
Yeah.
I liked your story about the PCP guy. Would you tell that story because that one to me was
I don't know this one.
Yeah, and also Taylor didn't watch this one. I enjoyed that story.
So when stated income loans were a thing, and it was like 2007, I was in college and I needed a big place to store the cars, and I was this close to buying Terrell Owens' house. He was selling it, and it had also been on MTV Cribs, and it was for sale just in East Atlanta. It was a good drive to Georgia Tech, and I was like, this makes all the sense in the world. Why are we all paying so much rent? And I was going to have like 15 roommates there, and I just narrowly avoided not doing that, thinking like this is going to be the greatest financial decision I ever made. And it sold like 3 or 4 years later for half of what I was going to have to pay for it back then. But instead of that, we ended up living in the west side of Atlanta, which used to be known as just a great place to go and get stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
It was in this huge duplex where each side had like 6 bedrooms and 2 kitchens. And we were on one side, me and a bunch of my roommates and intramural teammates and stuff like that. And we were out for spring break, but there had always been this Saturn parked like in the best parking spot. There was a big open area that we could all park in, and it never moved. It was disgusting, just covered in tree sap and everything else. And we kept asking the landlord to move it. He kept saying he would, but he never did. And we were just like, come on, get it out of here. And one day we all got, motivated, and we just started just breaking stuff on the car. And nobody really cared. It sat like that for forever. And every time you'd walk by, you just break something else off, break the mirror off, break a window. It was the punching bag for when you were frustrated with college life. And so we did that for a very long time, and nobody really cared. But when I was gone on spring break, I got a call from one of my roommates that was still there, and he's like, man, you will not believe what happened last night. And so apparently a guy that lived on the other side that we never saw or interacted with had come in, and it had been his car. I don't know how it took him months to figure out that his car was not in the condition he left it in. And the tags for 3 years expired. And and another
that was an investment vehicle. That's what you're not understanding.
Those dent-resistant panels didn't do so much dent resisting. But he was yelling, banging on the door, I've got a gun and I'm going to kill you. And, the only thing that they had there to defend themselves with was a intramural softball bat, but they were fully prepared to kill him back for he came through our little plastic door on this cheap duplex, and he couldn't get the door open. So he decided to throw our grill through the window, and it made it enough to break the window and then kind of fall back on him. And he cut himself on the glass, kind of trying to climb through, and gave up on that and proceeded to bleed all over the few cars that were still left. So we came back, and the whole parking lot and the whole my girlfriend at the time, my wife now's Mustang, was covered in blood. And the cops came, obviously, and arrested him. And they said it was PCP that he was on, and he was feeling none of the pain. But he
went around and was just intentionally
bled on everything,
bleeding on the cars. That was the only.
That's alpha as fuck,
right?
Yeah.
From Fight Club.
Yeah.
Bleeding
we actually, we had a guy that used to detail cars at Lamborghini Atlanta, and he might at one point have stolen a Aston Martin from inventory and then magically found it like a couple days later when he realized he couldn't do anything with it. But he was actually working. I ran into him at a gas station they built right around the corner. And he was running security. He had this huge gun on him and everything. And I said, you know what? I was going to dinner somewhere in that area. I said, I used to live right down the street. And he looked at me like, what do you mean? You lived here? Because I guess it's even gotten worse now. Yeah. But it's a proper terrible place to live.
Yeah. There's some sketchy parts of Atlanta for sure. Yeah. North side and south side and east side. North, south, and east are all pretty good. I like East Point a lot, but west side of Atlanta can be a little rough.
That's right. But good memories, good stories occasionally.
That wasn't the only excreter that you
have to say that about your childhood city when it's like, oh, St. Louis is great. Just don't go north. Right. Oh, definitely don't go east. South can be iffy. Be careful.
That's right.
Actually, where we're standing right now, while we are technically surrounded, fairly safe.
It's a good spot.
Don't move. No, don't go over there. Don't go over there. No, that gas station. No good. We're safe right here.
Yeah.
I just remembered this story. I hadn't thought about this in so long. There's a lot of turnover in sales in the sales department, of course, and so it was almost like being in a unit in Vietnam. You didn't want to befriend the new guy too much because he might not be around too long,
Because his name's handwritten on a business card.
Yeah,
and don't trust the Vietnamese prostitute.
I gotta scratch a paper here, right. And the people that you had been working with for a while, you felt like you were part of the original unit or whatever. Well, these new guys came and they were hardworking and they were
like Band of Brothers. We're like, we didn't want to get too close to him because we just tore me up to see him get killed.
That's right. That's exactly. It's a rough business, and but these guys moved down, and they had formerly worked in like insurance or something. They were young guys. They were like my age, maybe a couple years older, 23, something like that, and they were hard workers, and that was getting them through. One more so than the other. I wish I could remember their names well. I think it was Kyle and Travis actually, and Kyle was doing real well. Travis was not, and they even looked their level of success. Kyle looked smart, had his head shaved, his glasses were nice. He always wore a dress shirt and a tie. And Travis was slovenly, like he was a little overweight, and his beard was always unkempt, and he was struggling real bad. He was still on an air mattress because he couldn't afford to get his shit out of storage back in Pennsylvania. So like they auctioned it all off while he's in Atlanta. So he's living on a goddamn air mattress. But he fucked a girl on that air mattress one night, and I told him that was one of the most incredible accomplishments and fuckery I'd ever seen. Like I've gotten some girls, but I've never been able to fuck one on a fucking air mattress. Like you brought her back and she didn't just walk right out. Like, nope, she was down. That thing went flat about halfway through too. But anyway, he takes a car back to get it detailed. He miraculously sold a car, and a homeless man is back there. He's not supposed to be back there. It's very much a fenced-in area. It's like back behind our service department, far away from the showroom floor. And the homeless man tries to rob him. He has nothing. He has nothing on him. And he's like, I don't have anything, man. And the guy poked him with a little penknife. Like I say poked because it certainly wasn't a stab wound. He got poked him. He poked him. It was like something from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they're at the carnival and that guy just like stabs. He stabbed him, but it was a bullshit stab. Like he's like, he stabbed me. Oh, and I hear coming over the radios. The place is so big. There's radios everywhere. I don't carry a radio, but the managers all have them, and you can hear the radios nearby. Travis has been stabbed back behind and I'm just like, what the fuck? And like I've got a gun, so I'm just like, get the gun, fucking throw it into my suit jacket. We get on the golf cart. We drive fucking back there. Nobody's back there. This guy's made his escape. He's over the fences, and once you're over that fences, he's in friendly territory. Let's just put it that way. We're not venturing. That's the DMZ over there. If we're in Nam, like he's made it into Laos. Okay, like we can't go over there. We won't come back unscathed. And but he's fucking poked like in his palm. Like he tried to defend himself, and the guy stuck him in the fucking palm. He's like
in the palm.
Yeah, in the palm. Yeah, he's like holding his hands up, and the guy like pokes him with and I can only imagine it was like one of those Swiss Army bullshit little pin knives. But
right.
It's like this is the worst job, man. I've had the hardest time. I'm like, well, you sold a car. He's like, I made $50, man. I made $50.
Man, I'm out here getting poked.
I made $50 in that car.
That wasn't the issue we had with early employees. When when people get a job selling exotic cars, they make some crazy personal financial decision, and the most common one is to buy a motorcycle. And Georgia is a little bit peculiar in that to get motorcycle insurance, you have to have a motorcycle license, and to get a motorcycle license, you have to take the test. And to take the test, you have to have a motorcycle. So you have to have it before you can insure it.
Yeah, that seems ass backwards.
And they will finance them without you having insurance or a license. So you can get a loan for a non-insured asset and then go through the process and hopefully be able to insure it. And so we had a lot of guys that would come in and literally the first week, they buy a motorcycle. And one of the guys' name was Nick, and he was young, just I'm so cool. I'm selling exotic cars. I'm everything I want to be. And so he buys this Victory motorcycle. And I don't know what it's like, 15 grand, and finances every dollar of it. As most car salesmen have a tremendous amount of negative equity in their cars. It's a strange thing, or motorcycles too. And he's never ridden one, doesn't have any of the steps completed, doesn't have a license, doesn't have insurance, nothing. And so I'm on the phone actually trying to buy a Bugatti for a customer. And it's like a nice kind of fall day. We got the doors all open, and it was getting time to close. And so I hear them outside, and one of the guys that worked at the store that knew how to ride a motorcycle was like, well, I'm going to pull it inside. They had dropped it off to us. Like, he didn't drive it away from the dealership. They came and gave it to him. And so it was in a lot, and he started, it was pulling it in. He's like, hey, I just want to sit on my new motorcycle. And one of the rules of motorcycles is you don't sit on one without a helmet. And if you don't know how to drive one, you don't sit on one while it's running. And, you know, because with a car, like, if you don't know what you're doing and you just do nothing, you'll usually slowly roll into whatever's in front of you. With a motorcycle, if you suddenly let go and do nothing, you launch into whatever is in front of you. And so he was probably about 18, 20 feet from the back of a Porsche Panamera. And he obviously just like kind of doesn't know what he's doing, tries to make it move, and just drops the clutch and blasts himself into this Panamera and shatters the back glass of it with his face. No helmet or anything, obviously. The motorcycle drags along the side of the Panamera and does a bit of damage to it. And so I hear just screech, bang, crash, boom. And I go out there, and the guy who had kind of let him sit on his motorcycle, that knowing he didn't know how to do it, was like freaking out, trying to pick up the bike. Our sales manager was out there, like, noticing all the blood coming out of Nick's face, and he's freaking out. And so I go over there, I kind of grab his face. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have a fun night tonight. And so he comes out, and so I fortunately, I don't know, I had like a moving blanket in my car. So I got him in there, and he keeps looking down, and all the blood's just dripping out of his face, all cut up. And so we go up to the emergency room, and there's like little girls with broken arms and stuff like that. And we look like we just came from an axe murderer. And I'm probably the axe murderer because he's the one with all the blood on me. But it was covered in blood. So they get him in immediately. And the first doctor walks in and sees how much blood and how cut up he is, and is like, nope, not doing that. And he goes out and calls another guy. Second dude comes in.
Can you do that as a doctor?
Yeah. I guess they
probably want that. Right?
The second doctor,
because I don't want a doctor that says, hey, I'll give it a go.
I feel like I got it. I got to learn sometime. So,
I've been doing this for 3 months, so I got it.
That's right. That's right. New personal best for stitches. But the third guy was like the stitch guy, because during the time he was putting about 80 stitches in Nick's face, 2 times people came in like needing the stitch guy, and he's like, no, I can't. And I mean, you know, he's young, kind of vain, just, you know, freaking out. No, he's never going to look like anything but Leatherface again.
Yeah, there's some scarred up 8-year-old girl somewhere because of this guy's motorcycle.
Yeah, her arms all, you know, like,
yeah, the good doctor wasn't available.
I shouldn't have tried the pit bull. I'm to blame. I'll remember every time I try and use peripheral vision or depth perception with my remaining eye.
I just don't know how you put an ear on backwards.
I didn't have 2 left ears before the pit bull. They grabbed out of the mismatch pile. Anyway, sorry.
They worked on him for 3 hours. It was awful. And I mean, he pulled back a flap of face, and an ant walks out that I guess had been on the Porsche. And I was like, Nick, I mean, you got a story from today, but that ant has got really something to tell his friends when he gets back home. But yeah, they got him all stitched up, and I gave him one of my shirts so we could go get some to eat. So it's like, 2, 3 in the morning at that point.
You guys went to White Castle afterwards or something?
Waffle House.
Steak and Shake, absolutely.
Ooh,
and I mean,
nice.
He's like wrapped up mummy style on his face. And everybody's like, what in the world? It was like one of those scenes in a movie where they just finished Fight Club, and like, you can tell they're having just a whole different experience than the rest of the guests of the restaurant that night. But no, he was eternally grateful for that. And but the problem was, of course, new employee, no insurance, and no motorcycle insurance to pay medical bills. And so before we leave, they're like, how do you want to pay for this? He's like, well, I don't know. I don't have insurance. And like, we can go speak to our financial counselor. And so we go sit in front of this huge woman that's going to tell us, whatever Nick's going to owe. And she's like, she hands us a bill. It's like $8,500. And he's like, darn it, because he's already got to pay for his total motorcycle over the next like 60 months. And now he's got this huge medical bill that he can't get insurance for. I was like, well, if we walk out of here, I know your collection rates drop pretty fast. So what if we were to pay it right now? And she's like, oh, well, in that case, we could do a pretty big discount. We could probably take like 25% off. I don't know. I mean, it's not convenient to pay it right now. She's like, well, I don't know. What if it was half off? I was like, well, still, that's still $4,000. Man, that's a big Amex bill this month. And she's like, I don't know if I can do any better than that. I said, well, I don't know. Then I can pay you any more than what, I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $800. And she's like, let me see what I can do. She starts fake typing. Yeah. And she's like, we'll take it. And
so you got like 92% off.
Yeah. And actually, then I pull out my wallet. I was like, you know what? I've got $500 in cash. And she's like, and then Nick's like, stop.
The Stitch Man needs his payments.
That's right. Yeah.
That is.
2014 Mustang, red with a black racing stripe, V6. It's a V6.